Douche gets more than he wanted, complains, then less than he wanted. I've worked in bars for years, and this has to be one of the best yeah moments of my time. I worked with this guy who was always on it. Super smart, never lost for words, very funny, and genuinely one of the most professional bartenders I've worked with. This was an exceptional night. We worked 2 to a station on really busy nights, like 3-4 deep kind of night. So I had a front row seat to this gem. Greasy douchebag is waiting in front of our station with his elbow on the bar not facing us. Getting a little annoyed that he is blocking people getting served, Sam taps him on the arm. "Hey man, you want anything?" "In a sec, mate," as he shoos him off and continues greasing on this drunk girl. Starting to change his attitude, Sam quips back, "You're blocking people from the bar, man. Shit or get off the pot." Ew. I start to slow down. Where's this going? Greasy douche face screws up and looks Sam up and down. "Give me a Coke," he barks with no manners. Sam whips a glass behind his back and catches it in his left hand, ice in the glass on the bar, and throws a straw in the air as he pours Coke from the soda gun. $2.50, thanks, as Sam spins around and enters it into the till. Douche is staring at the drink. "What is this?" "A Coke, as you asked," Sam said with impatience and vex. "That is not what I asked for," he responded. "If I wanted ice, I would have asked for ice," pushing the glass back at Sam. Sam picks up the glass with both hands and did something that I was not expecting. He apologized. "You are so right. I am so sorry. How stupid of me. Let me fix that for you." Sam grabs the soda gun, pours Coke all over the bar counter. The douche jerks his arm away, not because he notices it, but because his shirt getting wet. His anger palpable. "If you wanted a fucking glass, you would have asked for one," Sam spouts as he throws a straw in the puddle, turns his back, walks off and flips the bird. Story 2. Lady demands that I stop what I'm doing and open my register. Okay, no problem. I am 19. Work as a cashier in a gas station in Miami Gardens, Florida. Naturally, the people that come into the store tend to be on the crazier side. The store had a line of maybe 7 people. Now, at this point, I had the register closed sign up, and I was stocking the vaporizers and accessories on the shelves behind the counter. My coworker was handling the customers in line. I turn when I hear the door opening. Another lady walks in without a mask on. I politely ask, "Excuse me, miss, do you have a mask that you could put on?" She scoffed at me and rolled her eyes as she dug in her purse for a minute or two. Finally, she pulls out a ratty little mask with only one functional strap and holds it to her face while she's waiting in the line. Well, apparently she couldn't do that for very long. She comes to the front of the line ranting and raving about how the line is too long and that we shouldn't be keeping a valued regular customer waiting. I've been working here for 4 months, and I've never seen her. I'm fairly confident I know all the regulars. I tell her that there are other things that my manager left for me to do before the end of closing and that I have to get them done. She didn't seem to like that all. "I demand that you open your register right now." "Okay, you got it, lady." I moved the sign and then I turned back to her. "Do me a favor and stand a little bit to your right." Surprisingly, she complied, albeit with her arms crossed and what I can only assume was an angry gaze firing through her mask. Cue the malicious compliance. "Next customer!" I yell out into the store. It dawns on her what I'm doing, but the next customer shoots up in front of the counter before she can even fully process it. I go about this transaction as normal, despite the fact that this lady is yelling at me at the top of her lungs, no longer holding the mask to her face, mind you. I finish up with the other customer, and I turn to her. She tries to yell over me, so I raise my voice a bit and try to be as stern as possible. I tell her, just because my register is open now doesn't entitle you to skip all the other people in this line who also have lives and jobs and other responsibilities. Get to the back of the line and be respectful, or I have no choice but to have you removed from the store. We don't have security, but we're 2 blocks away from a police station, and one of the cool-ass officers who comes into the store gave me their personal number to use just in case we have any issues. The lady harumphs loudly and walks dejectedly to the spot in the line she had before she left. In the amount of time it took for the rest of the story to occur, more people had gotten in the line. "I said the back of the line," I told her pointedly. She dropped her shoulders and walked to the back like a toddler. Story 3. Try telling a queer scientist that he has no choice. My husband, Chad, is naturally a better decorator than many professional designers that have their own shows. Years ago, when he lived in an apartment complex, the rental office staff became aware of how beautiful he decorated his apartment. It really was award-winning, literally. Anyway, the apartment manager notified Chad that his apartment was to be the model going forward. Chad was not happy with this development. Strangers moving through his personal areas, going through his things, possibly stealing things? Unacceptable. The apartment manager was quick to mention that this was a part of Chad's lease. Suddenly an idea occurred to Chad. Are you allowed to move or cover up anything in my apartment? No, sir. We are not allowed to touch, move, rearrange, or cover up anything. Thank you. Chad put up every piece of male erotica he possessed, and he even bought some more. Posters, figurines, serious art, even a pile of magazines fanned out on the coffee table, like some kind of doctor's office. Chad called the rental office and warned them against bringing anyone into his apartment that was a child or squeamish about such subject matter. The rental office immediately sent over one of their maintenance men to confirm. Check and mate. Story 4. The time read your contract backfired regarding holiday pay. Back in 2015, I worked for a pretty dismal call center. It was an outsourced center that handled customer support for a lot of UK retailers. Staff turnover was real high, with the vast majority being on temporary contracts, and the promise of a permanent contract being hung over people's heads to make them suck up being treated like crap. After working there for about 2 years, in late February of that year, I was offered a permanent contract because they wanted to put me on their team leader program. The pay was slightly better, the job security was better, the only major difference was how holidays were handled. People on temporary contracts were paid for any unused holidays at the end of the working year in April. People on permanent contracts had to use their holidays, or they would lose them. I had just over 3 weeks' holidays saved up. So the day I accepted, I booked 3 weeks of in March, so as I wouldn't lose them in April. March rolled around and my manager told me that my holidays had been refused. I said that's fine, as long as they pay me for them. And he replied that no, if you don't use your holidays, you lose them. I said that I was trying to use my holidays, and they were not letting me. He shrugged, said it's the duty of the employee to manage their holiday time wisely, and I should read my contract. Despite the fact I had only gotten that contract 3 weeks earlier, and the holidays worked differently. Understandably annoyed that evening, I went home and read my contract from beginning to end, and discovered my manager had overlooked one crucial part of the paperwork. The contract clearly stated I had to give a week's notice, and that any holidays not used would be paid to any leaving employee in full on their last paycheck. The next day I came into work and announced I would be quitting unless paid my holidays or allowed to take the time off. And if they accepted my notice, then to be sure my holiday days was included in my final paycheck. My boss asked me if I was really going to quit over this, and I replied, was he really going to lose one of his most reliable employees over this? He wouldn't budge. I assume he thought I was bluffing. So I handed in my notice, and on my leaving interview with my manager's manager made sure to explain exactly why I was leaving. And yes, my final paycheck did include my unused holiday days. The end.